Hello everyone, and welcome back to DrakeMakes. I can't stop making virtual reality levels. It makes me feel like a cyberpunk wizard.
Jesus!
I find the whole process is pretty zen too, once you aren't fighting to figure out why your engine keeps crashing. In just a few hours off camera, I built this snowy level you're seeing now as a follow-up to last week's project. But this video isn't about this place. It's about this one, trying to explore that vaporwave aesthetic. Before we get into it, this video is sponsored by Wingfox and their latest course on Unreal Engine 5. Their latest course is going to teach you how to make a first-person shooter game from scratch. This is a big deal because it can be hard to find the right courses out there when getting started. You can save some money and support the channel by using my affiliate link in the description and code BFCM to receive 30% off of your order. Now let's make some vaporwave. That's probably copyrighted, but you know the aesthetic I'm talking about. Surreal 90s, early 2000s type computer-generated imagery. The checkerboards and pink environments, Roman heads. This type of imagery is such a distinct style, and I always find myself wanting to explore these weird computer-generated worlds. And with Unreal Engine and VR, we can do just that, so I set about trying to emulate that vaporwave aesthetic. The big ticket for achieving the look came in working with the sky atmosphere and the exponential height fog. By adjusting the colors to a warm pink and orange, it gives this really surreal effect when you have distant objects. By adjusting that directional light and refreshing the sky sphere accordingly to complement the pink hues of the exponential height fog, your scene can take on a distinct dreamlike quality, which is exactly what we're going for. It's easy to get pretty nitpicky with these colors and the final look of the sky. Just be sure to refresh your sky sphere based on the directional light so the sky will update. That way you can get clouds or stars or whatever you want. So with the lighting established, and for more reference on this, check out my previous video, we're gonna move on now to level design choices. To keep pushing the look though, I need props, and we're making use of yet another new pack this week, that being the Big Office Pack. I created a new project with these assets and had a look around for inspiration. This is some serious ArchViz type stuff, but it'll work great with my VR shenanigans, so I migrate the assets over and begin interior designing. So it went like this. First I used some concentric basic cylinders to make columns, a critical element for the scene, and I just love how columns make a scene feel grand. I then make use of a matte white material to blend all of the assets. I was inspired by the sample office scene and the simplicity of the architecture and how much the assets complemented the basic geometry, so I set out to do the same. Plus, basic geometry means optimized, smooth virtual reality. And don't worry, I will be showing FPS stats at the end of the video during the showcase. This checkerboard pattern is iconic for the vaporwave look, so I'm making use of the starter content materials and this specific tile shader for the ground. Immediately, with just these two elements of the fog and these tiles, I'm sure you can already start feeling the kind of vibe we're going for. Since this is a new pack of assets, a lot of the time spent working on this project was spent in just trying to familiarize myself with what assets I had available. I've cut out quite a bit of just blank scrolling through my library. We're combining tropical palm trees and a snowy tundra in this scene. I don't know why, but it looks pretty cool once it's all said and done. The place needs a ceiling, so I just copied the floor and found a new material to apply. My main reference for this scene, besides vaporwave imagery itself, was luxurious hotel and resort lobbies. By combining this sleek look with some exposed industrial pieces like these ducts, air ducts, it adds to the immersion of the scene immensely. Moving on, it's just trial and error with the details. This office pack is pretty well optimized, so I was able to be pretty liberal with the variety in the assets I chose. And now adjusting the skylight so it actually lights up inside the scene and we get those good shadows from the pillars. Adding in these office cubicle bits, I have no idea what this space would be for in real life, but it's a virtual reality lounge, and we'll say that there needs to be office space. Alright, so here I got a crazy idea. I looked at the mountains and I was like, there needs to be a giant head resting on those mountains. So I went to the Megascans library, as you just saw, and downloaded that asset. While it was downloading, I added extra detail, like this radiator here. Now extending the scene, I add in a snowy courtyard, or at least the beginnings of it. All of the snow and rocks come from the Gothic Ruins kit, which for some reason in the last video I kept calling Nordic Ruins. Regardless, the pack is great for filling out detail. All of the assets work together really well, and are good for hiding seams. I was a little wary coming into adding all of this snow, because that's not typically what you associate with Vaporwave. To me, it's more of a tropical feeling. But in the end, I think the contrast of the inside and outside makes the VR scene extra cozy. And now I make a square, smaller courtyard outside, which is later going to house some like picnic tables. At one point I restarted the engine and the lighting just looked 10 times better. I can't quantify that assessment, but like something really improved and I have no idea why. Unreal Engine pros, hit me up in the comments. I don't mind though, everything ran great in VR and the deeper shadows that had resulted really made the space feel tangible in testing. At this point, I'd start to see corners and angles of the project that were finished, and this really showed me that we were in the right direction. Back out in the courtyard, I used stepping stones to make these little planters. This probably goes without saying, but you want to try and stretch how you use assets. Just because it says it's like a floor stone doesn't mean it should be used that way. Jumping forward in time once again, I'm now adding in more foliage. You can see I've added that head among the mountains. I had to scale the model up 500 times its size to fit there appropriately. Messing with scale is really valuable for VR scenes. It's one of the best mediums for actually feeling the scale. Since I expanded the level backwards, some of the light was not reaching into the dark corners and it was starting to lose a lot of the detail. Now, I didn't want to use point lights because they can take up a lot of frames, so instead I wanted to use emissive materials and a glowing donut. I settled on this floating pink ring light kind of coming from the ceiling. It's made of 3 separate toruses. This extra lighting pulls you into the scene and really fills it with atmosphere. After that, I edit the starter contents glass material to have a little bit more depth to it because I'm setting up a picture window on one of the walls. This way you can look out and see over the mountains. All I'm doing to soup up the material is adding a normal map and a roughness map. It's hardly noticeable except for from an angle, but I think it adds quite a bit. Alright, and now jumping forward in the process quite a bit more, because it's just a lot more of the same thing, honestly, just adding details to corners and making the face feel lived in but not too cluttered. These are some of the finishing touches here. This area just needed some sort of centerpiece. And after this, we'll get into the final showcase. I hope you enjoy. I love how this turned out. As I promised to report, it comes in and caps out at 60 frames per second, and with this scene in particular, I didn't really experience significant lag spikes at all. So that's that. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I cannot believe the growth of the channel, and every click helps. I'm super excited to get more creative content out soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.